hear anything, Anthony. All right, I think we're in. I didn't hear anything. I don't know, Jeff, did you hear anything? I saw the open.
We're good.
Okay, as long as we're good, that's all that matters. Welcome back to the Blue Review on a Wednesday after amazing game last night.
Amazing.
There's lots of good, lots of bad. Thank you, Jeff Spiegel, for being here once again. If we can, and Anthony, if you can change that bottom so it says at Jeff Spiegel on the bottom, because Parker Bell is not here. I appreciate it. But thank you again to LAX, as always, for sponsoring the Blue Review. Blue Review is presented by LAX at Los Angeles International Airport. Changes are arriving daily to reduce traffic, save guest time, and transform the travel experience. Info at flylax.com/transforming LAX. Parker Bell is on his way out of town, so he is actually at LAX as we're speaking right now because he's flying out of LAX. And Marcus Grant is on a little bit of vacation right now. So, Jeff, 2 days in a row, you and me.
We're scraping at the bottom of the barrel here, but I'm honored to be with you, Greg. I'm honored to be with you, especially after a great game last night. So we'll take it.
Yeah, no, it was a great game last night, and we can really get into it just right off the bat here. How were you feeling when the bottom of the ninth came up? Shohei gets out. There's 2 outs. How are you feeling at that moment?
Look, nobody's going to sit here and say, no, they had it. 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth.
Of course.
The guy who just struck out Shohei Ohtani. We're feeling good. But, I mean, we joke. Like, my MO, if you haven't seen any of my stuff, is I'm positive, patient guy. I always believe that with the Dodgers and the names that they have at the top of the lineup, that they're always going to give themselves a chance. I would not have bet on the Dodgers with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth, but I would have bet on the Dodgers, down a run late in the game, knowing that, okay, Ohtani, Smith, Freeman, Teoscar, these guys are going to be due up. And so I just think that's the beauty of the Dodgers. When the bullpen, who's been fantastic, lets them down, guess what? You've got 4 of the best hitters in Major League Baseball at the top of your lineup. And as long as those guys still have a chance and you're within a run, anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were just great. It was great to see Will Smith get a hit, then Freddie gets a hit, and then Teoscar pushes it all the way through. It just a really good game from the top of the lineup, the 1, 2, 3, 4. And Shohei was, as our friend Eric Steven likes to say, had a tricycle. He missed a tricycle. Is that what he says? A tricycle? Yeah, because he was a triple short, but it's hard to say, tricycle. But either way, I thought it was an absolutely great game. There's a lot of things to get into here. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the positive, or do you want us to go right into some of the negative that I got? Because I always got that negative.
Let's start positive and then go negative. Let's just look, at the top of the order. The top of the order goes 10 for 20 for the Dodgers last night. Ohtani hits the massive home run. Teoscar Hernandez has 3 RBIs. Will Smith laces a double. Freddie Freeman laces a double. 10 for 20 at the top of the order. I know the rest of the group was 2 for 17. Okay. That's not very good, but 10 for 20 from the top of the order. This is why you bring these guys in. This is why you bring superstars in, because they can change the game as individuals. The Dodgers had all 4 of those guys going. And so I just think we have to start with how good of a group that has been. Now we can get into Bobby Miller. Was he good? Was he not good? We can get into the bullpen. 3 of their best 4 arms all let them down last night. And so let's at least start positive, Greg, because they did win in a walk-off against the Diamondbacks.
They did, absolutely, and I'm ecstatic by it. It was really fun to watch too. And by the way, Teoscar Hernandez, I think he is now my favorite Dodger.
Wow,
he's not the best Dodger. Obviously, he's not the best guy in the team. Shohei's that dude, but Teoscar is now my favorite Dodger as of right now. The dude just is constantly getting hits. Seems the most fun in the clubhouse, in the dugout. He's throwing the sunflower seeds. He got everybody really like getting up and being excited, and they seem to have that camaraderie, and it's all kind of based around Teoscar. And also, he's just a really good player. At the very beginning of the year, we were talking about all the big moves. We talked about, the Shohei and the Yamamoto and the Glasnow and all that. And I said, the sneakiest move out of all of this is Teoscar Hernandez. He could be an absolute stud if he's hitting like he did in Seattle a few years ago. And he's doing just that.
Yeah. He only had 2 hits in his last 6 games coming into last night. So in a bit of a slump, but he gets the 2-out RBI triple in the first inning, the 2-out RBI single in the 9th inning. So he wasn't just sort of knocking these guys in casually, but they were those 2 hits were the 2 biggest hits of the game, you could argue, and both came with 2 outs and with runners in scoring position. So I'm with you. He's 4th, I believe, last I heard, in all-star voting with 3 guys getting to start in the outfield. So Dodgers fans, let's get our stuff together here and get Teoscar Hernandez into the All-Star game, because the guy deserves it. On last night alone.
Yeah, he does do it. Yeah, you have to go out and vote, vote, vote. When does the voting end? It wasn't last night, or when is it? It's
I believe it might be today, or it's sometime this week.
Right. I thought it might have been last night, but if you can still vote, go out, vote for Teo because he absolutely deserves it. All right. So now it's time to go to Bobby Miller. I personally, and I don't know where you are on this, but I personally was actually encouraged by that start. Okay. Despite the fact that he was wild, despite the fact that he had a really rough fourth inning, he wasn't giving up a lot of hits, and he was giving up a lot of, pitches that were hittable that were just getting missed. Yeah. The fact of the matter was, in the fourth inning, he gave up the 2-run shot to Christian Walker, who, by the way, it just absolutely destroys the Dodgers every single time. He has 23 home runs against the Dodgers in his career. That's insanity to me. Yeah. But either way, he gives up the 2, then he loads the bases, but he gets out of it. And he gets out of it on big strikeouts. He did a really nice job, and then came back in the fifth inning for another inning and went zeros. So that to me was encouraging that we're getting back to the Bobby Miller that we know.
Yeah, I think last night for me was the very definition of a mixed bag. You could frame this positively or negatively depending on what narrative you want to have with Bobby Miller. If you're a pro Bobby Miller guy, you're going to say, look, he pitched 5 innings. In 4 of the 5 innings, he allowed no hits. And in the 1 inning where he did allow hits, you mentioned the 4th single home run, single walk. Well, guess what? He bounces back, strikeout, pop out, ground out, and gets out of a bases loaded, nobody out jam in that 4th inning with just the 2 earned runs. I think all of those are totally fair. And as my guy Scott Gearman last night on our post-game show pointed out, he comes back after that 4th inning, comes back out in the 5th, and has another shutdown inning in the 5th, which I think it speaks volumes. If you want to be a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit more nervous about Bobby Miller, you could say velocity down across the board, 1.5 miles. He didn't even throw a single pitch that met his season average with the fastball. 97.9, I believe, was his fastest pitch last night. 98 is the season average. And I just think command is a mess right now. I tweeted out the 2 games ago, I think he only threw strikes. He was only in the zone on like 35% of his pitches. Last night, that number was a little bit higher. It was closer to like 55, 56, I believe. But even when he was in the zone, Greg, like we were talking on our show, command isn't just balls and strikes. Command is, even when it's in the zone, where is it? He threw so many pitches that ended up right middle. He threw a ton of pitches that weren't even close to being strikes from the second it left his hand. So that's the part that concerns me. Let me give you one stat with the command. Last season, he had, in his last 9 outings of last year, he didn't have a single start with 3 walks. In his last 16 starts last year, he had just 1 outing with 3 or more walks. He's now had 3 or more walks in 3 consecutive starts this season. So that's the concerning part to me, is that if the walk number continues to be as volatile as it has been, that's the part that worries me. It's early. I'm not like he's only been back a couple weeks. So there's no dirt on Bobby Miller here, but I haven't seen enough. I need to see a little bit more.
So this is funny to me. Like, I'm normally the guy that's pointing out all the problems, and you're the super optimistic guy. I'm actually more on the optimistic side for this one, and you're going way more pessimistic than me. I really like it because, yes, he's only had 3 outings since he's come back. He was bad in the first 2, just flat out bad. This to me was a step up. And yes, his command was all over the place, but he got out of that 4th inning. That to me was a big thing. And like you said, also that 5th inning, coming back out and getting through that, those were big steps for me that can get us back to where he needs to be. Is it concerning? 100%. But overall, there's still only 3 back. And I also still fully believe he was brought back up too early. I thought he could have used many more, even a couple more rehab starts before he made his way up. He was brought back up just like last year. He was brought back up out of necessity, not out of wants.
Yeah, no, and I'm a big believer. Like, when a guy comes back from injury, we need to be patient in order to evaluate them. So that's why I say I'm not putting dirt on the guy, because there's a massive grain of salt that goes with every single start that he has made so far. In that, as you pointed out, he's thrown like 13 innings since coming back after missing more than 2 months of Major League Baseball. So this is spring training type buildup. I think the point you make about him coming back up because they needed him, not because he was necessarily ready, is a fair one. And so the good news with Bobby Miller is what we saw last night is not the finished product. I'm just pausing and saying, hey, let's not overreact to 5 innings, 2 earned runs, because I don't think in last night's sort of instance, I don't think that told the whole story.
No, no, it didn't, and you're absolutely right. But the fact of the matter is, that was positive steps for me.
Yep.
What I saw, and really, it was very much so that fourth and fifth inning that was. It wasn't even about how he was pitching; it was about what he did to get out of those and come back and have a shutdown inning. But either way, that's where it is on Bobby Miller. Going now, and we got to get into the bullpen just a little bit because you mentioned it before. The top three relievers gave up runs. Evan Phillips gave up a run. Blake Trinan gave up a run, and Alex Vesia gave up a run as well. And those are things that can be concerning. So of them, I can't kind of go back at Alex Vesia. He was my villain at the beginning of the year. Then I apologized, and now he's pitching much better, and he's kind of having some rough outings. But I think he's going to be just fine just because of the way he pitches. I'm a little bit worried about Blake Trinan. Okay. Blake Trinan, I have now seen two of the last three outings giving up runs. He very well could have gotten out of that one, but he's just been a little bit wild. He is starting to walk guys. I'm used to the Blake Trinan, and I understand he's another guy that's coming off the injury, but he's a guy that I'm used to is when he's on, he's unhittable. And when he's not on, he is this guy. So I just don't know which guy you're seeing right now.
Yeah, started the season 14 consecutive scoreless appearances. Hard to argue with that. June 15th is kind of where things go downhill. He gives up 4 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning to the Royals, bounces back 3 straight scoreless innings, although he gave up hits in all of those. Then he gets lit up in San Francisco, no outs, 2 earned runs in that one. And then, a scoreless appearance. And then last night. Here's why I'm not worried about Blake Trinan. I'll go back to being the optimist. You can stay the pessimist here.
I just fit better in that spot, so it's okay.
And it's the same with Alex Vesia. Both of those guys, these are the moments where I say, hey, watching the game needs to balance out, kind of just looking at the box score. Vesia, for example, gives up 3 hits. 2 of those hits were in Miguel Rojas's glove, and he doesn't make the play. Neither of those is what I would consider an easy play, but if Miguel Rojas, who's one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball, makes one or both of those plays, Alex Vesia's night probably looks different. Blake Trinan, similar, walks the first guy he faces. Cardinals in, can't do it. He does it. Then there's the bunt, and Trinan fields the bunt. And everybody in the world is watching this saying, just hold on to it. Eat it. Do not throw it. Well, guess what? He decides to throw a bounce pass to Gavin Lux over at first base. Gavin Lux, not a first baseman, doesn't make the play. The ball ends up halfway to right field. The guy who was standing on first base scores on that error. The guy who moves to second because he tried to bunt, so now they have a runner at second with nobody else, never moved. So, to me, if Trinan just eats that pitch and now it's first and second with nobody else, he probably gets out of that inning with no run. So it goes down as an unearned run. I think that's the stupidest rule in baseball. If the pitcher makes the error, it should count as an earned run. Maybe it should count as 2 earned runs. I don't know, but that's why I'm not worried. I know it's 2 runs in his last 3 runs, three outings in his last 7 that he's allowed stuff. But stuff like this is going to happen. Trinan's a vet. I do think they need to slow him down a little bit. I don't want him racking up tons of innings over the next 3 months. Save him. The arm is there. Let's just be patient with him. But not worried.
Yeah, no. So those are all really good points, and I'm fine with all of them. Just seeing Trinan start to give up runs, and it's in a little bit more of a higher cadence. That starts to worry me a little bit. And the fact is, like you said, he's giving up hits in those in the other outings. He's giving up walks in the other outings. These are things that just are very un-Blake Trinan-like. So if it's time to slow it down a little bit, totally fine with that. And then you get to Evan Phillips. Evan Phillips, I think, is one of the best closers in the game, and I'm never worried when Evan Phillips is on the mound. And he gave a home run yesterday, but that goes to another one of my massive pet peeves. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if you agree here. I hate when you have a closer and you bring him in a non-save situation. I just hate it. If that's what their mindset is, to go in and not in a save situation, I don't want them in the 4-4 games. I don't want them in when they're down by 3. Stop doing those things. It always, always, always turns into runs. Are you with me, or are you being like, you're a little bit crazy?
Yeah, no, I mean, not crazy. It's just, you just sound like an old guy. You just sound like, I want baseball to go back to the way it was, Greg.
No,
I want my closers in the ninth.
Absolutely not.
The thing with Phillips is, there's a couple things. One is I'm a believer in using your best relievers in the moments when you need them. You talk about there might not be a save situation if you don't use your closer in a tie game. Of course, he ends up giving up the home run and things kind of backfire. An interesting stat on Evan Phillips. I'm with you on Evan Phillips. I remain optimistic on Evan Phillips. I think he's one of the best relievers in baseball. Again, Scott on our show has pointed this out. He's actually been really bad against lefties this year, which is unique. I've gone back, and it's not the type of thing that has been a pattern in his career. So in 2023 against lefties, 2024, this year, he's got an 831 OPS against him from lefties. They're hitting 275 with a 475 slugging. That's in 40 at bats, but he's now allowed both home runs to left-handed hitters. He's also given up 5 walks to them and struck out just 11. So the numbers against lefties are not that good for Evan Phillips. Again, I'm not expecting that to continue. They had a 449 OPS against him if you go back to 2022. So it's a small sample size, but just something to keep an eye on. Scott's pointed it out. And that could be part of the reason of why maybe they deployed him where they did, is they don't trust him against lefties. Of course, he ends up facing Jock Peterson, and Jock Peterson ends up taking him deep. But just something to keep an eye on with Evan Phillips. It's only 40 at bats. That's not big enough sample size to make sort of, grand pronouncements, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, no, it is. And so I saw one thing going around today that the Dodgers were looking at Tanner Scott, the reliever out of Miami. I mean, I don't know too much about him, but I believe, the closer in Miami. So,
yeah.
So
whenever they have the lead and it's the 9th inning, Tanner Scott is the guy that
occasionally that happens. Yeah. It's like having a closer in Anaheim. Exactly. You don't need it. So yeah, so that's when. I don't think that I think that's the last of the issues for the Dodgers. I don't think they should be going out trying to get a closer or like a typical closer. And that's the same when it comes to Kenley Jansen. I don't want Kenley Jansen back because I don't think closer is the issue. Not because I'm terrified when he goes to the mound. Either way, the biggest issue is now still pitching. They still need to go out and get pitching. Where are you? Do you think they should go more towards? You always need bullpen. Do you want more? Do you need more starters, more bullpen? Do you like the idea of Tanner Scott?
I'm with you. I don't think they need bullpen arms. The good news that came from Dave Roberts yesterday, Joe Kelly made his first rehab appearance. We actually got a positive Brusdar Graterol update, which I didn't know we were allowed to get, but we did. He's expected to pitch we were all expecting the next update to be at season-ending surgery.
Shut down.
Yeah, not the case. He's expected to throw a sim game soon. So Kelly, Graterol, both seemingly on the way back. The Dodgers bullpen's fascinating. I mean, if they go 4 starters in the postseason and you look up the list of names they already have, Phillips, Treinen, Daniel Hudson, Alex Vesia are the 4 guys that I think you trust a lot. Then you've got Graterol, Kelly. So that's 6 already. So you've only got 3 more spots. Kyle Hurt, I think, is a guy in AAA who's going to be a difference maker. Johan Ramirez has been good. Anthony Banda has been good. And that doesn't even get to the fact if a guy like Ryan Brazier comes back, Ryan Yarbrough's not on the list. Michael Grove is not on that list. So I think they're good enough on the bullpen. Sure, if they want to go get somebody, knock yourself out. But it's definitely not the highest priority to me. I think starting pitcher is the most interesting one. Because here's the thought. Like, Let's assume, maybe incorrectly, but let's assume that Yamamoto is able to come back at some point this season. If I told you that entering the postseason, the Dodgers' first 3 starters were going to be Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Gavin Stone, and then their 4th starter, which I believe the way that the schedule has come out, you're kind of going to need a 4th starter. The 4th starter would be one of Clayton Kershaw, Bobby Miller, or Landon Knack. Is that a good enough group in your estimation? And that's assuming health, which isn't fair, but that's all we can do right now. Is that a good enough group? Again, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Stone, 1, 2, 3, and then Kershaw, Miller, or Knack for that 4th spot. Is that a good enough group that you would feel good entering the postseason with that rotation?
So if everybody is pitching at the top of their game, they're all healthy. Yes, I'm comfortable with that 1, 2, 3. I think that when healthy, the 1, 2 of Glasnow and Yamamoto is one of the 2 best in the game. Like those are 2 solid, strong 1, 2. And then you can kind of figure out what that 3, 4 is. And I don't know what Gavin Stone will be at that point. If he's still the guy now, I feel great. If he's what a typical guy is that starts off hot at the first half of the season, I probably won't feel so good. But that's why you're bringing Kershaw back. That's why it's like if Landon Knack is that guy, Bobby Miller can figure out who he is. I like that as well. I do think that if they can, you still go out and get Garrett Crochet. I think Garrett Crochet is probably a big left-hander power arm that can strike guys out. I think that's the dude that if they can get him, that would fit the best into that rotation.
Yeah, actually the guy I've kind of honed in on is Jack Flaherty. Local kid. And last year of team control, I think that, Crochet's got a bunch of team control, which is going to drive up the cost. The Dodgers aren't desperate for starting pitching beyond this year because they've got prospects and guys who are coming back from injury. You can never have too much starting pitching, I know, but
Roki
Crochet
Sasaki supposedly coming.
Potentially. Yep. I mean, Crochet, to me, just the innings thing scares me. There's talk about if a team acquires Crochet, he might be a reliever in the second half of the season because of the innings limit he's on, which I'm not paying the price for Garrett Crochet if he's just going to be, even if it's an elite 2 to 3 inning sort of relief weapon. That's not what I'm interested in. Flaherty would be less costly from a prospect perspective. You look at some of the nerd stats. I know you love the nerd stats. 95th percentile in whiff rate, 95th percentile in strikeout rate, 95th percentile in walk rate. So he's one of the best in baseball this year at getting swing and miss, at striking guys out, and at not walking them. The expected ERA is under 2.9. I mentioned he's a local kid. He's in his last year of team control. We've seen him do it before. It was way back in 2019 when he sort of broke out. But he has this in him. People have long believed that he was capable of this. And so he's an interesting guy just because I think he kind of answers your short-term needs. He doesn't tie you up long-term, doesn't cost you the moon necessarily. And so Flaherty is a guy that I think in the short term, maybe the production, you could make a case that Flaherty would be more valuable this year than Crochet because of the innings limit that Crochet is on. And obviously the cost long-term would be dramatically less. The value long-term would be less as well. But Flaherty's kind of the starting pitcher that I've sort of honed in on. If Jesus Luzardo from the Marlins becomes available, I know he's been battling injuries. He's the other guy that I would kick the tires on. But I think Flaherty, just because of 1 year of team control, lower cost, but elite production so far this year, he's the guy that I'd hone in on.
I like it. I haven't been paying attention to Flaherty's stats at all, but he had 5-5, 1 WHIP, 3.24 ERA. Those are all very solid numbers. If he's back to the guy he was with the Cardinals, then sure, that'd be another guy that's on the Tigers though is Tariq Skubal. That's another name that I've been seeing kind of bandied about. Bandied, that's a weird word. I don't even know where that came from the top of my head. I don't say bandied. Either way.
That fits with your, the old guy opinions that you have. Now you're saying bandied. See, this is it. Closers in the ninth, bandying about. You're a new man, Greg.
You figured me out. I don't know what to say. But that's another name that I've seen kind of going around, and his numbers are also really, really strong. I know he's been a big strikeout guy. He has a below 3 ERA. I don't know what his control is, but he'd probably be more on the expensive side, like a Garrett Crochet. But, I mean, have you seen much on Skubal that you think of? I just have seen that name bandied about.
I like it. He has 2.5 years of team control left, which I believe is the same as Crochet. The nerd stats love him. Everything's dark red. Whiff rate, strikeout rate, walk rate. I mean, he's really, really good. Skubal's one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball right now. So You're getting him. He's 27 years old. And not only are you going to have to pay for the 2.5 years of team control, but you're just going to have to pay for a guy who's elite. The thing that I like about him is probably less of a injury concern. And there's reasons to believe why he's kind of breaking out. It's not just like a fluke. There's sort of some underlying stuff there. He was good last year, 80 innings. The ERA was 2.8. The year before that, 117 innings, 3.52 ERA. So this is 3 consecutive years where he has been good. This year is the first where he's been great. So again, I would prefer Skubal to Garrett Crochet, just because I think he's a little bit more reliable. You can use him as a starting pitcher for the entirety of this season. Heck, if you're really desperate for starting pitching, just go get both of those guys. And Flaherty's your short-term answer. Skubal's right next to him as your long-term answer. And I mean, Skubal is Tyler Glasnow level pitcher. So you're not going and getting like a number 2, number 3. Skubal is competing with Glasnow for who's the number 1 pitcher on this team.
Yeah, so that's probably a guy that they're not going to go after, but if they can get him, that would be massive. Either way, there's going to be a bunch of names that are going on, and they will be getting somebody in the trade deadline. Before the trade deadline, I think probably pretty soon too. I don't think they're going to wait until August. Was it 2nd this year?
July 30th.
July 30th this year. It moves around all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't think they're going to wait till July 30th. I think they're going to do stuff sooner rather than later, and we'll see how that goes. But Jeff, thank you very much for doing this. We got to get over to Travis and Sliwa. Tell us everywhere that we can find you and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, at DodgerBlue1958 on social media is where you can find our stuff, DodgerBlue.com. I'm at Jeff Spiegel. On our YouTube page, I run the Dodger Heads podcast, so you can find us there. Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get podcasts, you can search for Dodger Heads as well. But good stuff. We did a post-game show last night. Scott Gehrman and I had a great conversation about if the Dodgers have enough to win, and got a little heated at the end. So that's worth your time going and checking that out.
I like it. I got to go check it out. And by the way, no Blue review the next 2 days for the 4th of July holiday. I'm off on Friday as well. So is Parker and Marcus. So thank you for filling in for those two guys. You did a fantastic job. Love having you when you're on. So thank you very much. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful 4th of July. Thank you to LAX, and stick around. Travis Lee will have a lot to talk about, especially with the Lakers. We'll see you next time.